The Fisherman's Quest. In a small village nestled along the rocky coast of Nova Scotia, there lived a fisherman named Angus MacLeod. Angus was a man of the sea, born into a family of fishermen who had earned their living from the ocean for generations. His father and grandfather had taught him the ways of the water, how to read the waves and the winds, and how to respect the vast and unpredictable ocean that provided their livelihood. Angus was a tall and robust man, his skin weathered and tanned from years of exposure to sun and salt. His blue eyes were as deep as the sea itself, reflecting the joys and hardships he had endured throughout his life. Every morning before dawn, Angus would rise from his creaky bed, don his thick woolen sweater and oilskin coat, and head out to sea on his trusty boat, Marauder. The boat, which he had inherited from his father, was a sturdy vessel with a green hull, and its name painted in bold white letters on the side. The village of Glenhaven was small but vibrant, with colorful houses dotting the shoreline and a bustling harbor. The fishermen and their families were the lifeblood of the community, and everyone knew Angus. He was respected for his skill and admired for his kindness, always ready to lend a hand to a neighbor in need. Despite the grueling nature of his work, Angus found solace in the routine and rhythm of the seafaring life. On a particularly cold and foggy morning, Angus awoke with a sense of foreboding. The air was thick with mist, and the usually raucous seagulls were eerily silent. As he prepared his gear, his wife Moira watched him with concern. Moira was a petite woman with fiery red hair and a spirit to match. She had been Angus's steadfast companion for over 20 years, enduring every storm and celebrating every triumph by his side. "Be careful out there today, Angus," Moira said, her voice laced with worry. "Something doesn't feel right." Angus smiled reassuringly, though he felt the same unease. "I'll be fine, love. Just a bit of fog. I'll be back before you know it." With a quick kiss on her cheek, Angus set off for the harbor. As he navigated Marauder through the dense fog, the world felt muted and distant. Familiar landmarks were obscured, and the usual sounds of the village faded away. Angus relied on his instincts and the creaking of his boat to guide him, pressing onward into the unknown. Hours passed, and there was no sign of the fog lifting. Angus's thoughts drifted to the tales he had heard as a boy, stories of ghost ships and sea monsters lurking in the depths. He shook his head, trying to dispel the superstitions that had no place in the mind of a seasoned fisherman. Yet the feeling of unease persisted. As he prepared to cast his nets, a strange sound reached his ears, a low, mournful wail that sent a chill down his spine. Angus paused, gripping the side of the boat, listening intently. The sound grew louder and more urgent, echoing through the fog like a ghostly lament. His heart pounded in his chest as he strained to see through the thick mist. Suddenly, a shadowy shape emerged from the fog. It was a massive ship, unlike any Angus had ever seen. Its hull was blackened and covered in barnacles, with tattered sails fluttering in the breeze. The ship seemed to glide silently over the water, its presence both majestic and eerie. Angus watched in stunned silence as the ghost ship drew closer, its crew mere shadows against the mist. Before he could react, a voice called out to him from the deck. It was a deep, resonant voice that seemed to echo from the depths of the ocean itself. "Fisherman, what brings you to these waters?" Angus swallowed hard, trying to steady his nerves. "I'm Angus MacLeod, a fisherman from Glenhaven. I was just out for my daily catch. Who are you? The voice replied with a mournful tone. We are the crew of the Eternal Wave, lost at sea many years ago. We roam these waters, seeking redemption for our sins. We mean you no harm, Angus MacLeod, but we seek your help. Angus's fear began to dissipate, replaced by a mix of curiosity and compassion. What can I do to help you? The voice explained that the Eternal Wave was cursed, doomed to sail the seas forever until someone could retrieve a precious artifact lost in the depths, a golden amulet that had once belonged to their captain. Without it, their souls would never find peace. Despite the strangeness of the situation, Angus felt a deep sense of duty. I'll help you find the amulet. Where was it lost? The crew directed Angus to a spot not far from where they were, where the amulet had sunk with their captain during a fierce storm. With a mixture of anticipation and determination, Angus prepared his diving gear. The water was icy as he descended into the depths, the world above disappearing into darkness. Angus had been diving for many years, but this dive was different. The water felt heavier, the silence more profound. He searched the seabed methodically, feeling the weight of the ghostly crew's hopes on his shoulders. After what felt like an eternity, his fingers brushed against something cold and metallic. But before he could grasp it, the water around him trembled, and enormous eyes gleamed in the darkness. Before Angus stood a colossal sea monster, its scales thick and claws sharp. It guarded the amulet as if it were its treasure, and undoubtedly it had no intention of letting any human take it. Angus froze for a moment, but seeing the amulet within reach ignited a fire of courage within him. Realizing that he could not return without the amulet, Angus gathered all his strength and began to battle the creature. The struggle was fierce. The monster was powerful, and its aquatic agility far surpassed Angus's abilities. But with every strike, Angus remembered the ghostly crew and their lost captain. He thought of Moira waiting for him at home and the life he had spent mostly at sea. As the monster lunged at him, a ghostly figure from the Eternal Wave appeared beside Angus, holding out a glowing, ancient-looking dagger. The figure's voice echoed in Angus's mind. Take this. It is poisoned. It will end the beast's life. Angus took the dagger, feeling its cold weight in his hand. With renewed determination, he used his sturdy fishing net to entangle the creature's claws, utilizing the water's movement to maneuver the net around the massive beast. In a moment of intense focus, he managed to secure the net tightly, trapping the creature. Seizing the moment, Angus swam closer to the thrashing monster and plunged the poisoned dagger deep into its heart. The creature let out a deafening roar, its body convulsing in pain. Slowly, the monster's movements became weaker until it finally lay still, defeated. With the beast vanquished, Angus reached for the amulet and grasped it firmly. Feeling the cold metal in his hand, he knew the battle was over. Carefully, he began to ascend to the surface, watching the lifeless monster sink into the depths. Breaking through the water, holding the amulet high, its golden surface gleamed even in the dim light. The crew of the Eternal Wave erupted in cheers, their ghostly forms becoming clearer and more human. Angus climbed back aboard Marauder, the amulet clutched tightly in his hand. The voice spoke again, filled with gratitude. You have saved us, Angus MacLeod. We can finally find peace. Thank you. As the Eternal Wave began to fade into the fog, the mist around Angus cleared, revealing the familiar coastline of Glenhaven. The sun broke through the clouds, casting a warm golden light on the village. Angus steered his way back to the harbor, the amulet still in his hand. When he returned home, Moira was waiting for him, relief and joy evident on her face. "Angus, you're back. What happened out there?" Angus smiled, pulling her into a tight embrace. "I have a story to tell you, my dear. A story you won't believe." And so, in the warmth of their cozy home, Angus recounted the tale of the eternal wave, the ghostly crew, the golden amulet, and the fearsome sea monster. The village of Glenhaven spoke of the story for years to come, and Angus MacLeod became a legend not only for his fishing skills, but also for his bravery and kindness. The amulet found a place of honor in their home, a reminder of the extraordinary encounter and the spirits of those lost at sea. Angus continued to fish the waters he loved, never feeling alone on the ocean again. The memory of the eternal wave and its grateful crew stayed with him, a testament to the deep and unpredictable mysteries of the sea. As the months passed, the story of Angus's encounter with the eternal wave spread far and wide, drawing curiosity and excitement to the quiet village of Glenhaven. Tourists and journalists came to hear the tale from the man himself, and Angus found himself recounting the adventure time and again. With each retelling, the eyes of his listeners widened with wonder and admiration. Despite his newfound fame, Angus remained humble and devoted to his simple life as a fisherman. He continued his daily fishing trips, preserving his family's traditions and teaching the young villagers the secrets of the sea. They gathered around him, listening intently to his advice and stories, hoping to be as brave as he was one day. One quiet night, as Angus sat on the pier gazing at the horizon, he felt a deep sense of inner peace. He realized that the adventure he had undertaken was not just a test of his bravery, but also a lesson in faith and commitment to doing what was right. In his heart, he knew that the sea, which had given him so much and taken so much from him, would always be a part of him. As he looked at the stars sparkling above, Angus held the amulet that was in his pocket and thanked the sea for all it had given him. And when he closed his eyes that night, he slept peacefully, knowing that the spirit of the eternal wave had finally found peace, and that he too was forever changed by the encounter.